Good morning. This is JC, St. Louis's oldest living hippie, and I'm bringing you another raw story. This one is a raw story plus. Cece, please stop. Sorry, my dog is chewing a bone very loudly. They love those hard bones. Anyway, it said, "Boy, is that door an open door." Experts warn of Supreme Court power grab in Trump ruling. And yes, it's a hell of an open door. What's going to happen? And I thought about this. I knew it when they made the ruling on immunity. Is that any case that's going to be contested on whether or not there's presidential or any other immunity associated with some politician is going to end up going to Supreme Court, and they're going to make the decision on whether or not it was an official act. What does that tell you? The Supreme Court, as it says in the article, just made a power grab. That's why we need the Harris Walz team to get into the office, and we need them to weed out 2 to 3 of these Supreme Court no good justices that are just grifters and that are religious fanatics that are trying to make it so that the United States is their playground judicially, and we can't let them do that. The Supreme Court has to be brought under the reign of Congress, because Congress can make laws that will rein in their power. And one of the laws that Congress needs to make is they need to go back and make some sort of constitutional ruling and make it into a law. And I know that 38 states have to rule or have to vote for a constitutional amendment. So I don't know if that's the way to go or not. But they need to pass a law of some sort that will have some control over presidential immunity, so that the Supreme Court cannot just go in and make an arbitrary, subjective decision about whether or not the immunity of some politician, especially the president and vice president, and even the Speaker of the House, has immunity or not. Because as it says also in the article, that's very mushy. Supreme Court is supposed to be objective. The idea of the Supreme Court is to interpret the Constitution and then give a ruling on whether or not something is constitutional or unconstitutional. That's basically what they were put in place to do. They've gone far beyond that capability or that initial mandate that they had when they were created. So it's a shame, but it's true. Supreme Court has run amok. The Supreme Court is now like the New York Mafia was in the 70s. John Roberts is John Gotti, and the rest of them are a bunch of capos who are taking and falling in line under John Gotti or John Roberts Gotti, John Gotti Roberts, to let him to make the ruling that they think is good for their party, not good for the country. Okay, I'll let you listen to this.
Boy, is that an open door. Experts warn of Supreme Court power grab in Trump ruling. Critics have condemned the Supreme Court's ruling on presidential immunity as a partisan gift to defendant, former president, Republican nominee, and convicted felon Donald Trump, but some legal experts say the justices quietly helped themselves. Politico reporter Kyle Cheney Friday shared conversations with top law professors about the controversial ruling in Trump's federal election case that granted some protections to the former president but left many legal questions unanswered. One expert told us that seemed to be the court's design, Cheney said on X, to maximize their power by ensuring that they are the arbiters of any immunity dispute that arises later, a power grab of sorts. The expert was Yale law professor William Eskridge, who focused on the burden the court placed on Washington, D.C. Judge Tanya Chutkan to parse out which of Trump's acts were official. Politico described the standards set by Chief Justice John Roberts and his fellow majority panelists as mushy. It's unusual for the Roberts Court to adopt standards rather than bright-line rules or clear historical tests, said Eskridge. Case after case, they've rejected balancing standards. Also read, 21 worthless knickknacks Donald Trump will give you for your cash. Boston University law professor Jed Sugarman told Politico he was stunned by the emphasis placed on personal judgment. My goodness, is that subjective, said Sugarman. This presumption of immunity is basically whatever the Supreme Court thinks is intrusive, and, boy, is that an open door for partisan interpretation. The Supreme Court's exception on setting subjective standards has often been cases related to Trump, who has tested the powers of the presidency in ways never before witnessed in the U.S., Eskridge argued. Trump has several criminal court cases linked to attempts to bury salacious story before entering the White House, to hold on to power upon being voted out of the White House, and documents special counsel Jack Smith says he should not have retained after he left the White House. Trump was found guilty in the criminal hush money case in New York City, pleaded not guilty in his 2 election interference cases, and last month saw his classified documents case dismissed. But Trump is not the only common thread in the Supreme Court's more subjective rulings, Eskridge argued. Each produced, he said, a result that maximizes the power of the U.S. Supreme Court.
There you go. And Judge Chutkan, no matter what decision she makes, is going to end up at the Supreme Court, and they're going to make the final decision on whether or not immunity applies to any charge that she leaves on the table. So does that suck or what? United States Supreme Court is not worth the paper it's written on as far as its I'm trying to think of a good word here. As far as its mandate, it has overstepped its mandate by miles and miles, and it has to be stopped. In my opinion, the judges that are causing the most trouble should be arrested and tried for treason. The Supreme Court has become a treasonous body in this country because they've way overstepped what they're supposed to do, which is interpret the Constitution and apply it to cases to see whether or not the rulings in those cases are constitutional or not. That's all they're supposed to be doing, and they're not doing it. This is JC, St. Louis's oldest living hippie. I hope you listen to everything that I've said and that has been in this article. So, fuck Donald Trump, fuck J.D. Vance, go Harrison Waltz, and to all my friends, family, and followers, love you all. Pox some more, Jack, and keep on trucking.